And welcome to another video from me, Chris at DBG. So it is week 13 results, 14 projections. This might be the last week of your playoffs. Let's see how I've done in our league. It's definitely tight, and I wish week 14 all the best of luck. So week 13 secured another win for myself. It's been a tight league. I am definitely in the playoffs, but there's two teams in our league and they're playing against each other. Final game and winner gets a chance to go on the playoffs. But let's see the results of all the week 13 and let's go through the players and let's see who I think is going to play well going forward. Joe Burrow, 29 points. He has been a saviour for me. Hopefully that continues. Ramsgate has a slim chance of getting in the playoffs, does rely on a couple of things happening. He's the player who I drew against last time, but this time got the win. Mahomes, only 18 points. He obviously expected a lot better. Taylor, well, I don't know what to expect from him anymore. Miles Sanders is hit or miss, let's be honest. He's either blitzing the ball or not doing enough. What was surprising is their lead, but still wasn't good enough there. But it was because AJ Brown just ruined his whole team. Nick Chubb, bit concerned going forward with wasn't just as their quarterback. I don't think their run game is going to be as good. Hoping they sort it out by the playoffs weeks for me. Latavius Murray was a bit of a filler in that game for Raiders. Not really expecting much from him. Debo, well, now moment of silence for G. He's out for the season. He just hasn't got, he's got a break. He just doesn't get a break in the NFL at the moment. Really had high potential and could have gone forward, but it's going to take a hit on 49ers, but we'll see how it's going to go forward. It might rely more on that short game going forward, which could play into Debo's hands. Brandon Ayuk on the other hand, I think affects more. Alan Lazard, he's getting good consistent balls. You're just hoping for a touchdown upside. Taylor Boyd, Chase is definitely back. Wide receiver 3 at best. Maybe a very deep flex if you need him. Mac, pretty much the same thing. Not really much going forward. Dalton Schultz, they won 54 points. How did he get 5 points? It doesn't make sense. He should have been getting loads, but didn't happen. 55 shot, it's got nothing. Oh well. Hopefully that's not the... Well, for the Dallas fan, I'm hoping for 54 points every week. That would be amazing. But for a fantasy point of view, I'm hoping Schultz actually does more than that. Pat Fryer, 10 points. He's become a really solid tight end. Consistency. Low, not much upside, but a really good floor. So, Brian Robson, maybe he's coming back. 12 points. Not as good as 20 last week, but a tougher game. Hopefully, I think it could happen. Hopefully. Hoping for a playoff outstanding, coming through. So, and Jamar Chase coming back, didn't get as much as what he did, but he's coming off his injury, so fair play for him, getting 16 points. Carr only 16 points, but actually nice to be expected. Yeah, I'll take that all day long. Aaron Rodgers, 13 points, obviously didn't perform as well. Still owns Chicago, but not as comfortable as what he wanted. 49ers, they have been a saviour of me. They have some good games and they were fantastic. Tua just didn't know what hit him. Oh, everyone knows what hit him. It was the 49ers. With a lot of sacks and interceptions all over play. They got me 18 points. Seahawks, 8 points, playing really well in defensive, but that's pretty much it. On the bench, not really much happening. On my side, there's no one I would have replaced. Obviously, Hopkins on a bye, and I have a lot of buys this week, but not really my main players that are going to be playing on buys. Cam Akers, 19 points. You sort of don't know what to expect. Do you fit him in? Do you not? Yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't have won him the game, but it definitely would have made it closer. Badlands, almost a team I think is to avoid at the moment. With 159 points and getting consistently higher, beating the Phantom Wanderers, who are first in our leagues overall. And it is really because of this connection. He has managed to pick up some good wide receivers, as well as got a solid floor on running backs. It's a scary team. Hurts, 34 points. He's getting the run game and getting the pass game. He was all over the place. Kirk Cousins, low scoring. Unfortunately, not getting enough points to warrant him starting. Austin Eckler didn't really do much, to be honest, against Raiders, but you would expect him more. 12 points though, still getting there. Travis, well, he got injured, so we don't know what to expect going forward. Hopefully it's not too bad, but we'll see. David Montgomery, he's going well, but Herbert could be returning maybe in the next 2 weeks, so I'd expect his percentage of ball carrying going down going forward. But let's see, Herbert's still quite young. They might slow pay him coming back from his injury. Stevenson not getting as much as what you thought. It's just a slow game for him, unfortunately. And he was against Buffalo, so it was good defense on the run there. Seeing a wide receiver in Buffalo, Stephon Diggs, 22 points, getting really solid receptions out there. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 2 at the moment, I believe. Diggs, wide receiver 3. Good game, 18 points. You always want more, but realistically, you should expect those type of results coming forth. What you don't expect is Garrett Wilson, 24 points. Could QB White actually make him viable? I really do think so, and I think he is a scary wide receiver to have against you in a playoff run, because potentially it could be when they're throwing the ball a lot. Jalen Waddle come up a little bit injured, so I don't know what's going to happen there going forward. He seems to be okay for next week, so we'll see if there's any news on him actually. No, it's still questionable. Got a leg injury. Yeah, that is what it is. TJ Hawkinson, 7 points. There's not really much involved in that, unfortunately. But going forward, should expect solid numbers. Travis Kelce, you expect solid numbers, but actually didn't perform quite well. Only 7 points. A lot of this team based around Travis Kelce actually performing well to get the higher upside versus the tight ends on the other team, but not doing well. DK Metcalf, absolute boomed this week at 26 points. Don't expect it all the weeks, but when he does, it's always going to hit big. Mike Evans has only really scored what three or four touchdowns this year. Very disappointing. I think going forward, you want more upside, but there's something going wrong with Tampa Bay. Can't blame it all on the divorce. It's mainly because our O-line is atrocious in the moment. Kevin Pickett, 12 points. It's not really a good start for a QB, but as QBs go on a Superflex league, it's okay. Justin Herbert, 17 points, really solid there, but nothing else really changing. On the benches, nothing really could change. Pecco, 16 points, quite good. Would you replace him with anyone? No, is probably the answer. That is what it is. Going forward, I still think it is the same. You probably wouldn't change anything. So, unfortunately, players have a bad week. You just hope it doesn't happen in the weeks that it really matters. And for these two teams, they were both in the playoffs anyway. So we have Hitman and Dak. Dak, another team to avoid, I believe, in our playoffs. 136, it's a good solid score, and he normally gets round about that as well. Tua just having a nightmare game, only going 13. Just Allen having a solid game at 17 points. Alvin Kamara, pretty much looking at he maybe should have got the fine this year, because he hasn't performed very well and he's mucked up a lot of teams going forward. Aaron Jones didn't perform particularly well. It should change going forward. There isn't much offensive weapons in that team. Derrick Henry getting 5 points. They were behind so quickly that their run game wasn't possible, and to be fair, they only have a run game So unfortunately, Henry not getting enough there. Saquon Barkley coming back with 18 points, really solid there against Washington. He performed very well. AJ Brown just showing what his old team they're missing. 31 points and dominating all over the place with long tries, long touchdowns straight away, 2 consecutively, I believe, in the game. T. Higgins having a proportion of his percentage of balls going down, but I still believe he's a solid wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside going forward, even if Chase is playing. If anything, Chase playing well means that he might not get the coverage that he deserves. There is Slayton, 15 points. It's okay. He wasn't expecting much from him, but going forward, I'd expect that ceiling of 10 points as well. Sim Brown, he has been an amazing wide receiver. He's a top 5 every week with amazing upside. They're just doing really well. He is their wide receiver 1 and their main target pretty much in everything that's going to work for their team. I don't know how he's getting open so much, because he should just be covered, because no one else is a good wide receiver in that team. But hey, he's getting the ball, and he's getting the balls in the right places, so fair play. Austin Hooper is not really a tight end you'd be playing on a week by week. You need to really base on what's available for you going forward. And Everett, he wasn't really expecting 13 points. I had him at like 5 points on my scoring system, but doing well. Hopefully going forward, could he get that every week? Possibly. Now they're getting a little bit of run game back. Good old Patterson, just not getting the balls or the touches. He's arguably one of the best players on their team, but he's just not getting enough. Chris Godwin, 14 points, solid scoring. Let's see what it's like going forward. He seems to just be getting that as a consistency, so it's good for that. Justin Fields, his run game is what's getting you the extra points at the moment. Going forward, you expect it not to change, so he is a good wide receiver, top 10 every week for me. Prescott, do you know what? It actually depends on who's against, because he's not really getting the short game touchdown sneaks that you sort of expect, while Elliott and Pollard are performing so well. The run game is doing so well, the pass game isn't needed at the moment in Dallas. Buccaneers 5 points and Patriots only 3, but not really massive changes. On the bench, there's some big names in there. Gallup performing well, but you wouldn't expect that all the time. Due to the injuries, Knight doing well, but I think Carter will come back and replace and take all that possession away from him. Deshaun Watson, well, you can't rely on your defense every week. He's got to start performing if he's going to do anything at all. Do I put him ahead of Josh Allen and Dak? Oh, no. He's an easy swap for me. White is an interesting one because Fournette is just not performing very well at the moment. Could he take over? I think it's always going to be a mixture, and I think Fournette is going to be leading that. So unless you're hoping for a touchdown to get that high upside, without the touchdown is not a start. Oriental Lovers taking it out of Birds, putting him out of playoff contention, getting his second win of the game against Chip, who was defending. No, he's quite a high. Well, normally does really well and always gets in the playoffs with his team. But this week, he's been battered with injuries, and he's got another one to add to his bench as well. Geno Smith, 22 points, performing admirably well. Andy Dalton. Yeah, I don't understand why it's there. Your main QB's been healthy. Why aren't you playing him since like week 5? Something not going right there. Swift, is he back? Well, he's getting a high touchdown upside and was playing exceptionally well in the game. So, moving forward, you'd hope these I wouldn't say 20 points, but a solid 15 points on a week by week. And Kenneth Walker. Oh, what a promise. came off injured. They haven't diagnosed it yet. In theory, he could be back, and they are saying a lot of things to say he is back, but I don't know going forward. I think they might rest him this week, and then he comes back the following week. Elliott performing really well, 17 points, getting there. Jamal Williams, you would expect, getting high points for Swifts all over the place, but just not getting the touchdown upside. Going week by week, he should be. Keenan Allen, 20 points, he was great all over the place. The passing game in general was really solid there. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 1 of the season, I believe, at the moment. He's doing really well, and you sort of expect him to flourish moving forward as well. Just Palmer, respectable 13 points. I don't think he's going to get that every week, but play it on your matchups. Playing against a low team, he rises quite a bit. Harder team, I think the coverage is enough to get him to maybe get him below 10 points, so it becomes a non-starter. Christian Watson again performing really, really well for Green Bay. Considering how much Aaron Jones didn't have to get the ball, Watson's actually become a really solid wide receiver and consistently getting above 15 points in the last 3 games. So expect that going forward. Greg, 14 points, tight end, great scoring. I don't expect it moving forward though. It is Broncos, so anything can happen. Tyler Conklin, only 2 points. It's disappointing. You're so hoping that something happens there for him week in, week out, but it just seems to be more misses than hits. And I think, unfortunately, that is going to happen every week. The same as George Pickens, had so much promise, but there is problems in the Steelers all over the place. I don't think he's worth a start. Van Jefferson, the promise is there, but unfortunately he is not as good as what you want everyone to be with Coop out, but yeah, it is what it is. Tom Brady, 17 points, getting solid. Really saved on that last drive, really. Otherwise, he would not be a starter. I think week by week, he's always got the potential of getting 15 points. Is he got the potential of getting 20 more? That's when it becomes a little bit of struggle. Mike White having a really good game, 16 points in my opinion. Do we expect that going forward? I do, personally. I think he's got a great arm on him, and he's really targeting his wide receivers with some great accuracy at the moment. Obviously, he still makes mistakes though, so he's under pressure and high defensive teams that are going to rush him. I think there's a bit watch out for interceptions and fumbles. On the bench, AJ Dillon had a great game. Could that be going forward? I don't know. It depends on Aaron Jones' injury at the moment. Drake London having a good game. They are changing the quarterback really late in the season. It should have happened a long time ago. We'll see how it's going to... I think it performs quite well for him. And on the other side, nothing really affecting James Cook having a good game, but you don't expect that run game from Buffalo anyway. Next is Chicago, putting himself into high playoff contentions now. 133 points against 129, beating one of the higher players against him. Chicago is doing well. What actually happened on his team? There's a couple of players that just performed exceptionally well to get him there. Trevor Lawrence, 16 points. Good every week. You don't expect much more from him unless he's getting that running upside. Jared Goff, 21 points. Did not expect that, but he's doing exceptionally well. I mean, week by week, if he's going against a lower team, they are just performing exceptionally. Najee Harris is just disappointing all over this season. But 9 points. If you can get 10, you're almost grateful at the moment. Christian McCaffrey, well, the swap team has just done him exceptionally well. He is doing great at 28 points, and I only expect to get more volume going to him as long as his injury doesn't limit him too much. He is going to be a solid wide receiver 1 every week. I think they're just going to rely on him more with a change in quarterback as well. Antonio Gibson, for my sake, and Brian Robson, I hope that his volume goes way down, but he's still there, and it's still a committee as well. Josh Jacobs, only 23 points. He must be slowing down. Of course, he's having these spectacular weeks that make 20 points seem boring. But 20 points is still exceptionally good for a running back. Going forward is what you sort of expect now. Their running game is so good when he is there. Give him the ball and it works. Someone else who needs the ball in that team is Adams. It doesn't matter if he's double coverage or he's the only wide receiver out there sometimes. Somehow Carr finds him the ball and he is doing exceptionally well. I expect 20 points next week. CD Lamb, 20 points. I actually had him a little bit lower against Colts. I thought maybe they might do better, Colts, but they didn't. They just forgot to even play by the second half. And 20 points is very respectable for the wide receiver there. Going forward, you sort of expect 18 next week, I think. Tyler Lockett getting some massive upside at 27 points. Great game for the wide receivers in general at Seattle. With Walker out, or even having some limited, I think the wide receivers in both Metcalf and Lockett get better. Mario Cooper, I'm concerned with Brown's offense in general. And Watson hasn't played for over 18 months. Or even 2 years has been, or something crazy. I mean, he's just not up to speed yet. It might take a couple of weeks, but that could be too late for you. George Kittle not really getting much play. Seattle going forward, he could be a bigger target for shorter balls and shorter passes because of the change in quarterback, but there's a lot of mouths to feed on there. It's going to be difficult to predict who's going to get it each week. Taylor Higbee, not really doing much. The tight end you're just hoping for a touchdown to get to be viable each week, but not this week. Pittman, well, they only played one half, let's be honest. Colts, and then they just didn't play. So going forward, don't expect that every week. Would expect him to get at least 12-13 points. Smith, I did not expect 21 points. He just had a great game, but then Eagles had a great game. So going forward, I still expect the 12 to 13 points that is predicted that week as well. Daniel Jones having a great game at 17 points against Washington. Going forwards, you sort of put him around about, I think, QB 12. Zan Jones, only 3 points. You would expecting more considering how much of an impact he had the week before. Going forward, it could be the same. You just don't know what's going to happen. On the bench, there was Connor. Obviously, he comes back. Mustard didn't really perform very well that you would expect. And no one else really has an impact. Loads of buys on the other side, but really nothing that could really affect it that much. Maybe Murray and Brown, two high-end wide receivers that probably would have changed the game because you would have started. You would expect Murray to get more than 3 points. You would have put him in there. So the buy did really affect Tampa losing that game. And the final game, and we'll look at the playoffs as well. Cleveland winning at 125, and Donald Trump only getting 85. But there's a real reason for that, and some moments of silence in his team. Mariota only 9 points, and they decided to change the quarterback. We're on week 13, and now you decide to change quarterback. It should have happened at week 6 at least. But we'll see what's going to happen. Lamar Jackson, moment of silence. He's out for the season. That's a big blow in a QB Superflex league. And unfortunately, I think it has. If that wasn't it, I think there's more things that would have destroyed Trump's Isle of Wight. Donald Trump's success for the playoffs, but he is in the playoffs at the moment against me, and we're actually playing against each other next week as well, almost like a friendly before the real thing. Devin Cook getting 16 points. It's about time he's getting back up there, which is really good. Damien Pierce getting 12 points. Expect that going forward. Really happy with that. Tony Pollard, 20 points. 24 points, sorry. They just had a great running game. I think the committee, it's probably the only team in the league that can really hold two running backs in top 20 at least, and with maybe top 10 potential. Pion coming in for Mixon, doing really well at 20 points. He's a plug-in play. If Mixon's not playing, you can just jump in and play him. Wherever they'll rank, they'll swap. If Mixon's healthy, Pion doesn't play. That's as simple as that. They don't run by committee there. Terry McCannon, if Heineke is playing, Heineke is targeting him. They've got a good connection. They seem to be playing well. Gabe Davis has come back to reality really from such a positive start. Unfortunately, I don't know what is happening there. He's just not getting open enough, and the balls are not going to him. Chris, only 10 points. You sort of expecting more, but not getting a touchdown. Upside on there. Brennan Ayuk with a changing quarterback. I think he has hit most in the 49ers, and I think he is a borderline flex play now, rather than a wide receiver 3 or even with a 2 upside. Harrison, it was just a plug-in play tight end, and that's what it was. Mark Andrews still not really healthy, to be honest, coming back, and now with Lamar out, going forward, if he is healthy, you could get a lot of potential there, but I wouldn't hope on it, unfortunately. Christian Kirk came back 16 points, really good. He is their main wide receiver going forward. He's a great find. Okay, and see what he's going to do. And Thielen had a great game last week, but unfortunately back to reality, not being the main target and not having a touchdowns. He is a non-starter on a week by week. Tony Heineke, 18 points, really good by him. The running game's doing well, and they're getting people open. So expect 15 points rather than the 18, but we'll see how it goes going forward. And here's the moment of silence in the Trump team. Yet again, Jimmy G injured. 49ers, their offense is definitely taking a hit, but they have enough weapons out there that it makes their team scary. But in fantasy terms, it's worrying for you to predict where the scores and where the points are going to go. Ravens 7 points and Cowboys 19, absolutely smashing it. They were doing everything you want in the defense. On the benches going forward, Leonard Fournette only 13 points. Sort of expecting that going forward at the moment. He isn't running quite as quickly or as dynamic as before, and they're not doing the passing to him. At the start, it looked like he was getting a lot of ball play, and then realised that wasn't happening. So, don't know. And that is really it. Mixon's still out with an injury, so behind still there. And that is what it is. There we have one final game. I'm currently third, behind Tampa. Yeah, and it's only because I've got the draw, so I'm 8-4-1, and we've got two teams on 10-2 and 10-3 and 11-2. So very close at the top. We're all in the playoffs for 100%. Technically, Donald Trump could fail to get in. I think he has to beat me first. I know if he loses to me, then the percentage, then other people have to draw, and Raiders has to win. I think that's the only way it happens. I'm not too sure. I'm not actually sure how 98% he doesn't get in. But I think it comes down to some weird scoring system at that point. But it is Chicago and Hollywood against each other, I believe. Or Chicago and Rams. Something like that. Let's see. Chicago and Rams. Whoever wins this game goes through. That's where it's at. So it'll be interesting. I think if they win and then there's a draw somewhere else, I think, yeah, if Hollywood draws and all loses, then that's how it goes. But actually, it's quite close with me and Matthew's team, and I think that's just largely overskewed by the predictions. And who have I got on by? Taylor and Robson. They're the only really ones that are affecting me. But obviously he's got Lamar out. And Brock Purdy is against Tampa. So it's a hard game there. I don't think he's going to get what he's predicted. But he could just absolutely shoot off, and that'll be amazing going forward into the playoffs for him. At the moment, we'll see what's going to happen. I'm not 100% sure who's going to make it into that final playoff spot, but wish Chicago and Rams a good game. Not a draw. It would just be horrible. Because whoever gets knocked out will be wishing that one player scored 1 point. I want it a good game for both high scoring or completely rubbish and low scoring. You know, both of them get 50 odd points. Or 150. Let's leave it as that and see what happens. Well, that is it. Last game. Let's see how you do. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're not in the predicament of Chicago and Raiders, relying on that one game to get in. I'm hoping that, you know, I have a good run into the playoffs. I think being third puts me in a home advantage and plays against the bottom end of our league. But I think my team has a consistency but not much upside, so it all depends. But wishing everyone best of luck. Well, that's really it. Hope you like, subscribe, all of that jazz. But wherever you are in the world, happy you've been, and chat soon.